Hey, friends! Just so you know, we enjoy the swear word and we rely on good old fashioned humor to get through some seriously dark subject matter. At no time do we intend any disrespect toward the victims or families of the victims in the cases we cover. Also, be sure to listen to the end for a few palate cleansing bloopers to reset your mindset. And with that, we thank you for listening and we hope you enjoy.
Hey friends, welcome to Crime Will Tell. I'm Jamie, along with my fabulous friend and co-host, Carrie.
It's weird because it's morning time.
Yeah,
And we've never recorded morning time before.
I know. It's a little wonky.
I don't know how to feel about it.
Well, I'm probably about to ruin a little bit of your morning with this story.
Yeah.
So
True crime podcast and all.
Right, but also this one, we both love to fucking camp. We are camping people.
Yes, we are.
And our spouses, your kids, like my dog, we all love to camp and like enjoying the peaceful sounds of nature and just chatting and laughing around a campfire and just kind of getting away from the day-to-day bullshit. Like it's therapy for us. It's a reset and a way to really connect and spend time with like your people. And like I know a lot of people don't like to camp. It's not for everyone, but for people who love to camp, it's a really, really special thing. And so this case might hit a little extra hard. And this is where I would normally say we need to have a drink, but like you said, this is the first time we're actually recording in the morning. And I know we're both just drinking coffee.
I cannot do bourbon right now.
Yeah. Like we're both just in our coffee zones. Mine may or may not have a little Miralax, but I don't want to give away all my sexy secrets. So
yeah, no. Gotta have some mystery.
But we can still cheers with coffee.
For sure.
So
For sure.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, my friend. Clink.
May we both have successful poops. What? So just jumping right into this one. Around 7 o'clock on the morning of Sunday, November 15th of 2015, the Anderson County, Texas Sheriff's Department received a 911 call saying that there had been a shooting on a private property where people were camping. So deputies were called to that campsite in Anderson County. This was near Palestine, Texas, which is in like the eastern part of the state and sits about an hour southeast of Dallas.
Okay.
And what officers discovered when they got there was horrifying, like plot of a horror movie horrifying. So now I'm going to go back and tell you about some fine folks.
Okay.
So this wooded property that I mentioned was purchased in August of 2015, so just a few months earlier, by a 45-year-old man named Tom Kamp. Tom loved to camp. I mean, it's his fucking last name.
That's his legal last name is Kamp?
It's Kamp with a K, but still, it's like perfection.
I love it.
And so he bought this land so he and his family could go camping there on the weekends. Tom was engaged at that time, and he and his fiance, 40-year-old Hannah Johnson, lived together in Midlothian, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas, along with Hannah's 6-year-old son, Cade. So we've got Tom and Hannah, and then her son, Cade, lives with them. The couple had been together for over 5 years, and they were, blending their families as they both had sons from previous relationships. These camping trips were a way for them to all spend time together, get to know each other, and become closer.
I like that.
On Saturday, November 14th of 2015, the family went to the land to enjoy a weekend of camping together. And this weekend was extra special because two of Tom's adult sons, 23-year-old Nathan and 21-year-old Austin, were visiting from Oceanside, California, where they lived with their mother and two other brothers. So Tom had four sons with
Okay.
his
Okay.
ex-wife Karina, but only Austin and Nathan were on this particular trip. And they were planning on celebrating Nathan's upcoming birthday over the weekend. So there was just a lot to kind of celebrate and look forward to. Also joining them on this trip were Hannah's parents. So 77-year-old Carl and 73-year-old Cynthia Johnson. Cynthia went by Cindy, and that's how I'll refer to her
Okay.
from this point on. And so Carl and Cindy were transplants to Texas from the Northeast. They had both
Oof.
worked in the admin offices at the University of Maine at Farmington until they retired in 1999. I love
That's
Maine.
a
So I was like, oh,
big culture. Yeah, Maine's
yeah,
gorgeous, but not
it's a
like
big
Texas.
move. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they both love to travel and they had planned to explore as much of the US as possible. So
Okay, I
that's
like
what their
that.
big plan
Yeah.
after retirement was. And they ended up moving south to Texas, and their daughter Hannah also relocated to Texas to be near her parents.
I like that. Close knit family, blending with the camps,
Yeah.
camping. This is going to end horribly, I feel.
Yeah. And I know that that was just a lot of people. So just a quick recap. We have Tom and his fiancee Hannah, his two adult sons, Nathan and Austin, her young son Cade, and her parents, Carl and Cindy. So
Got it.
this is seven people getting together to share a fun and relaxing weekend. So Carl and Cindy were the first to arrive at the property that Saturday. They were towing an Airstream trailer behind their
Yes, they
truck, which I
were.
fucking
Yes,
love.
they were.
When they arrived at the land, they had to open a gate to enter the property, but there was actually a padlock on the gate that should not have been there. So they were like, what the fuck? They ended up using bolt cutters to remove the
They
padlock and
just were
access
like,
the
fuck this
property.
padlock.
And so they accessed the property, and when they entered, their truck and their trailer ended up getting stuck in some mud.
Oh,
And
that's the worst.
so the couple began arguing pretty loudly, which I can totally picture because, like, as relaxing and peaceful as camping can be, the setup and tear down of a campsite can be quite a challenge, especially for couples, and a true test of compatibility. So I truly think that, like, all couples should have to tent camp together at least once to make sure that they can
Yeah. It's like an in basket exercise for the relationship. Like, I don't
exactly.
think I know how to put a tent up if it's not at night with headlights.
Right.
I think that's the only way I know how to do it.
And if it's sprinkling and you're like under a time crunch, like it's even better.
It's even better. Yeah.
And you're hungry, you just
And
want
you're
to set
hungry
up.
and the wind is starting to pick up. And so your tent won't do what you want it and need it to do. Yep.
So yeah, like I think if you can set up and tear down a tent with all of your shit without killing each other, you can get through anything.
Yet we do this for fun.
Yes, yeah. But damn, once you're set up, it's
Oh,
glorious.
yes. For the whole 37 hours that you're going to be set up where you have to
Yes.
tear down again.
Right? So they're like pissed off about being stuck in the mud. They're arguing loudly, and while they're in this kind of chaotic moment, a man drives up to them. He introduces himself as William and told him that he lived at the property next door. So he's like, "I'm your neighbor." He was initially upset about the noise that they were making, which is why he came over
Okay. So
just
that's
to
what
be
drew
like,
him over.
yeah, I don't know if he
Okay.
was going to be like, "Can I help?" or "Shut the fuck up," but either way, he ended up,
They must have been loud.
yeah, like or it's probably just carried really well. Like
True,
I don't
true.
know how far like his house was from where they were, but it was loud enough that he was like, "God damn it." But he came over to investigate, and once he figured out what was going on, he offered to help them out. So he was like, "I'm going to go back to my place. I'm going to grab my tractor and I'll come pull you guys out."
Okay,
So
so this
he
William
did.
guy is a good dude. All right. It's good to have good neighbors like that.
So he went back to his property and a little while later drove back on an orange tractor. And so around 4:30 that afternoon, as helpful neighbor William was freeing up the stuck truck and trailer, Hannah, Nathan, Austin, and Cade arrived to the campsite in Tom's truck. Tom was meeting up with them later, so he was going to be driving separately. And so again, Hannah's in the truck with all of their sons, and they were also towing a trailer that was carrying an ATV. So they were planning on having
Ooh,
a
they were
fun
gonna have
ass
fun.
weekend. hmm They were incredibly grateful for his help, and so they offered to pay William for his assistance, but he was like, "No, I don't want any money. I would, prefer to just have some beers with you guys if that's cool
Awesome.
and just kind of hang out." So he, hung around chatting with them and was sipping on some beers. And somehow in their like get to know ya small talk, it was mentioned that Carl and Cindy had to cut that padlock on the gate when they arrived. And this was when William's like helpful, friendly neighbor demeanor changed. And so he told the couple that cutting the lock was disrespectful and he seemed oddly pissed off about it.
What?
And as they're chatting, he also told them that he had wanted to buy the land that Tom had purchased. And so they're kind of like, fuck, okay. So there was
Okay.
this like complete shift in mood,
I'm starting to feel a certain type of way about Mr. William now.
right?
My spidey senses are up.
And so it went from pleasant chit chat to like a borderline argument, which I'm sure was confusing the shit out of the family. They were like, okay. But, trying to keep things light and friendly, Carl and Cindy apologized to William for cutting the lock, even though they had absolutely no reason to. So it's pretty obvious that it was William who put the lock on the gate to a property that he didn't own, but felt that he had the rights
Or even
to.
have access to.
Yeah, exactly. And so Carl was like, hey, we're all friends now, and tried to move the conversation in a different direction. And so they continued hanging out. And around 8 o'clock that night, as the family and William were sitting around the campfire, Tom arrived to join the group. So Hannah had driven the truck there with her son. So he was driving Hannah's car. But now everyone in the family is finally there and they're all together ready to spend their weekend together. Something about William's presence and demeanor didn't feel right to Hannah. And so she had hinted that she wanted him to leave, probably saying under her breath to like her parents and her fiance, like, I wish this fucker would go back home.
How many beers did he want to stay and drink?
I'm sure maybe there was some hinting, like, okay, we're gonna have dinner, whatever, but he was still around. And so later that night, Hannah and her parents, Carl and Cindy, were starting to make dinner for the group. So they're getting food out of campers and whatever, trying to kind of get dinner started.
And is William still there at this time?
Yeah.
Talk about overstaying your welcome. Oh my God.
Read the campsite,
Read
William.
the
Fuck.
room. Yeah. God.
And so the rest of them decided that they were going to like jump in the ATV and go collect more wood for the fire, which is like what you spend the majority of your time camping doing, is collecting sticks and firewood. And so now we have 3 people at the campsite making dinner, and then Tom, Nathan, Austin, Cade, and their new buddy William venturing off into the woods to get firewood. A bit later, Hannah, Carl, and Cindy heard gunshots in the distance, which was alarming, but they kind of just chalked it up to people, maybe shooting targets or fucking around. This is
Mm-hmm.
middle of nowhere, Texas. So they sort of brushed it off, but began growing a little more concerned because the group of guys who had gone off had been gone for long enough that it was like, okay, how much firewood do we need? Like, let's get back. And over an hour later, William drove the ATV back into the campsite and he was alone.
Okay, that's
So,
creepy because that's not his ATV.
right. And just alarming, especially probably for Hannah because her 6-year-old son was
Is
nowhere to be
not
found.
there. Oh my
So I'm sure
God.
she was like, where's Cade? Where's Tom? And so as William was talking to Carl, Hannah was growing very concerned, like I'm sure asking questions because she didn't know where her son was. And as she approached the ATV, she noticed something in the back of it that freaked her out. I don't know what it was, but she began running towards Tom's truck while yelling and pointing at the back of that ATV. And that's when William got out of the vehicle and he began shooting at Hannah and her father, Carl.
Oh my God.
During this commotion, Cindy had taken off and she had run and hidden in the woods, fearful for her life, hiding alone and terrified, then watched William chase her husband Carl and her daughter Hannah into the Airstream trailer and begin shooting at them. She saw Carl get shot and fall onto the steps of the trailer and then heard more gunshots inside. So I don't know if William like was looking for her or if he just maybe forgot that he'd missed someone. I don't know. But she ended up staying in the woods until it was daylight and until she felt safe moving.
So she spent all night in the woods
Yeah. Yeah.
after watching her husband and daughter be executed
Yeah, and not knowing where Tom and her grandsons, like,
and the
where
other
the rest
boys
of them
were.
were. And I
Oh my
think
God.
I'd read somewhere that there was, like, a stack of camping chairs or something that I think she that were maybe kind of obstructing where she was hiding, but
Ah.
she was scared to death, and so she stayed there, and she ended up like, once it was daylight and she didn't see that William was anywhere, she found Hannah's cell phone that had been dropped during the attack, and she was able to call 911, which was the call that I'd mentioned at the beginning.
Okay.
And so when sheriff's deputies arrived at the scene, the bodies of Carl and Hannah Johnson were found inside of that Airstream camper, but they didn't know where Tom, Nathan, Austin, and Cade were. And so as they did, just kind of a quick search of that campsite, but they weren't able to locate them like in that kind of immediate vicinity.
Hmm. I'm just thinking like when Tom, Austin, Nathan, Cade, and William went off into the woods to collect firewood, just the dichotomy between the fun of doing that, because that's fun. Well, it's fun for people that like to camp, I guess. But there was a switch flipped at some point during that excursion where it turned deadly. And there had to have been a split second before lives started to be taken, where those lives that were taken figured out what was happening.
Right.
And that must have
Yeah.
been, that had to have been the most terrifying. I just, oh, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And I'm sure Cade just felt like big stuff, when you're
Oh,
little and you're
I
getting to like
know.
hang out with
Yes.
the big folks. It's like super exciting.
Yeah.
Even though Cindy was devastated after watching and hearing 6 members of her family get attacked, she was able to give investigators a wealth of information about what had happened and who was responsible. Like, how often is there
Yeah.
a survivor and a witness,
Well
in a
done,
massacre
Cindy.
like this? So when she told them about a neighbor named William, it didn't take long for them to connect the asshole dots, which led them right to 33-year-old William Hudson.
He was young.
Yeah. And so he was arrested at his mother's home, which sits right next to his property. So it's my understanding, I could be wrong about this, but he lived right next to the property that Tom had bought, and then his mother lived
On
next
the
to
other
him.
side.
I think so. That's
And
what I
that's why he
could piece
wanted to
together.
buy the property because it would have extended his land And with his mother living right next, then they could have this long, okay. Okay.
Yeah. And parked outside of the house was Hannah's car.
Outside of William's
So
house?
outside of his mother's house where
Oh,
they
geez. So
arrested
smoking
him.
gun.
Yeah, so they're like, "Oh, why the fuck is her car here?" Officers noted that he didn't seem to be intoxicated or impaired in any way. It didn't give any detail as to what happened, but it seemed like he was a little resistant at first. Like they were, I think, prepared to have like a fucking showdown with this guy, but he ended up surrendering and there wasn't any major incident.
Okay, so when they first approached him, he was posturing a little bit and then they were able to get it under
Yeah, I
control.
think that maybe he didn't answer and they were worried that he might be
Mm,
like inside with weapons, whatever.
got it.
But but once he was in custody and being interviewed, he told officers that he had helped two people at the property because their vehicle was stuck in the mud, but that he knew nothing about any murders. When asked how Hannah's car got to his mother's property, he said that he just, found it parked there that morning. So he was like, well, I better take the keys out of it. What? Like, what?
Okay,
Whatever.
that's logical.
And investigators were like, shut your asshole mouth, and asked him what he was doing the night of the killings. And he was like, I had a couple of drinks with those nice folks after I helped them and just came home and watched some movies. And so investigators are like, so what movie did you watch? And like started asking him some details about what he was watching. He couldn't offer any. It's like, if
He
you're going to
couldn't
make
even
shit
come up
up,
with anything.
yeah, like
Okay.
if you're going to make something up, at least pick something that you have some knowledge about so you can riff on it for a little
He
bit.
also
Like,
had time to think about this.
yeah, exactly. Like, say you were working
Like
on a
all
car or your
fucking night.
tractor or whatever, like
Yeah.
that you could like fucking go off a little bit about. But no, he was like, movies.
I
Meh."
was watching Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah. When he was taken into custody, he apparently had blood stains on his shirt and what appeared to be blood on his hands and like down in his cuticles.
Wait, this was the next day.
Yeah.
So bruh doesn't have good
Gross.
hygiene. Huh.
Investigators also found blood on the tractor that he had driven to the campsite, and a bond was set at $2.5 million. On November 19th, 2015, he was charged with 6 counts of capital murder. He pleaded not guilty to the charges, but faced a sentence of either life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Oh yeah, this is Texas.
Yep, this is
Yeah.
Texas. Oh, we like to kill people. The following afternoon, so this is now November 16th, a dive team found the bodies of Tom, Nathan, Austin, and Cade in a pond behind William Hudson's home, which was like about a half a mile from the campsite. So I don't know how close it was to his house or what the logistics were, but the pond was about a half mile from where they were camping.
Oh my god.
The details of how the shootings occurred and how he moved the bodies aren't clear. Somehow he got the 4 victims to a secluded area, shot them, and then moved them to his property where he dumped their bodies in the pond. And he had used the tractor to move those bodies because they found the victim's blood on it. So I don't know if he, when they went out to look for firewood, he got them somewhere, killed them, took the ATV, dumped them on his property, and immediately took the tractor to like the pond and dumped them, or if he moved them after he had shot Hannah and Carl and gone back. Like, I don't know the
The
timeline,
logistics.
but somehow at some point in the night, he had used the tractor to move those bodies and dump
Dead
the
bodies are
4
freaking heavy.
guys. Yeah.
But I'm thinking, like, to your point, you don't know the logistics of how the shootings happened, in what order, where they were, what was said. Like, if it was that Tom, Austin, Nathan, and Cade even were aware when it started, because he could have just walked up behind and done like a double tap to the back of the head or something.
Right.
But any way you look at it, whoever went first was the lucky one, because
Right.
whoever the three that didn't go first had a split second, aside from Cade, who was 6 and probably didn't understand what was going on. I hope he didn't.
Yeah.
Holy
All the
moly.
others saw someone that they
I
love
can't
get
even.
killed. Yeah. And so, like I said, I don't know the details. I would really like to know, but my assumption, and again, this is just me assuming, but my guess is that there must have been a significant amount of blood in the back of that ATV, which is likely what Hannah saw that freaked her out after William drove
Oh yeah.
back to the campsite and kind of sparked him then going after her and her father. I don't know that that's what it was. Like, it was never specified anywhere, and I really kind of wanted to know what that was, but that's just my guess.
If she had handled that differently, like if it was a lot of, it was clearly something alarming, and blood seems a logical hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
If she had just taken her cell phone and dialed 911 without responding,
I think he had every intention of killing them. Because even if she was like,
regardless.
"Where's my kid?" Whatever, any sort of questioning was going
Yeah.
to lead to him taking them out too. Because
Yeah. And
he had to get rid of
probably,
all the
yeah.
witnesses, you know?
Yeah. To
So
what
he
end, though?
just
I
forgot
suppose,
one.
whoops. I mean, thank God for Cindy, but if you're going to commit mass murder, you kind of don't want to forget witnesses. Just pro tip for anyone interested. But damn.
Following autopsies of all 6 of the victims, the medical examiner determined that the causes of death were gunshot wounds and extreme blunt force trauma.
So he beat the shit out of him, too.
Yeah, and
How do you suppose
he
he, 3 adult men and 1 child, how do you suppose he took control so that Tom, Nathan, Austin he had to have gotten control somehow to keep them in submission? Otherwise, they could have taken him.
yeah, or unless he was, like, distracting them with something and just boom, 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 like, before
That's
they
true.
even,
Or he could have
behind them.
threatened to harm Cade.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, and I wish that I knew the details, but also, like, don't. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
it however
What?
it happened, it's fucking awful, and I don't he never gave any details about what happened, never admitted to it, so it's not like he said, "I hit Tom over the back of the head with this," or whatever, like, it didn't say who had what
Mhm.
injuries,
Mhm.
but those were kind of the causes of death for the victims, and when Hannah's body was found in the trailer, she was naked from the waist down.
What?
An examination of her body determined that none of William's DNA was found inside of her, but that her DNA was found on the crotch of William's boxers. So I don't know that he was able to assault her like to completion or however gross way we want to put it, but like he was at least attempting to.
Hold on for a second. That is a whole other layer of opportunity, and then thinking about nature versus nurture and what you have to have inside of you to even, because he obviously did it after he shot her.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
that would have
fucking
been
necrophilia.
yeah.
And at what point, if it's, I'm assuming the reason why he committed warfare on these people is because of jealousy that he didn't have the land. I'm sure we'll get to
Yeah.
this, but
Yeah.
that's one thing. But then to have, and he didn't know all those people that were going to be there, right? So then
No.
to have this woman that he just shot, and for him to immediately go, I'm aroused. What the fuck?
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah, there's just like so many levels of like ew and just fucked upness. Fucked uppery?
Fucked upness is a good word. I like it. I
Okay.
like it.
This is yeah, there's a lot of it.
Wow. Okay.
So DNA from several of the victims was found on William's tractor, on the ATV, on his clothing, on his hands because he's a gross fucker. So, he did it. Like this was case closed.
Yeah.
There's
That's
no
not
doubt.
circumstantial. That's direct
No.
evidence.
And But if that wasn't enough, there was also surveillance footage from William's mother's house, which confirmed Cindy Johnson's account of how the shooting went down.
Oh.
And I would like to point out his mother was not home. His mother was out of town. So she had no involvement in this. She wasn't like trying to protect her baby or any of that shit. Like,
Okay, because I was gonna ask, was this a family affair?
no, she had no knowledge. And I will come back to her a little bit
Okay.
later on.
Okay.
But so this surveillance footage from her house showed William riding an orange Kubota tractor, just like the one Cindy had described, and Hannah's car being driven onto the property. Like, I don't know that they were like, it's clearly William driving it, but it did match like all of the details. Like,
Okay.
someone drove the car there, whatever. So, like I said, there was no doubt who was responsible. They got the fucker responsible for it, and they also had like the guns that were used during the attack. He had been armed with a 22 caliber and 45 caliber revolver, which just screams premeditation.
Mm-hmm.
Two firearms for an evening around a campfire with a nice family. Like, it's Texas, but it seems like a little heavily armed. I know most people that probably camp in Texas have, a firearm on their hip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not unusual, but two, it just seems like he had every intention of killing them that night. And I kind of have the feeling that like he maybe carried like one with him all the time, but when he went back to get the tractor, he may have grabbed
When he
another
realized how many
firearm.
humans were there? Okay.
And so, we'd kind of brought this up earlier, but like, what was his motive for killing this family? And it just comes down to anger, bitterness, and jealousy. So Tom Kamp had purchased this property from William Hudson's family. And this
Oh, shit.
property had been in their family for generations. And I couldn't figure out who owned it, like if it was an uncle or grandparent, like I have no idea who owned it. But William had wanted the land and felt that he was entitled to it, but he wasn't able to purchase it when the property went up for sale. I'm assuming it was probably just a money issue, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. Maybe he wasn't able to get a loan, whatever it may be.
Okay. So it was already in his family and then it went out of his family and he
Right.
just couldn't. He just couldn't handle it.
And so William had complained to family members that he was pissed the locks had been taken off the gate to what was now Tom's property. So there was like locked when it was for sale and like when it belonged to his family, but he was pissed that the locks were taken off because it belonged to somebody else now.
It was irrational.
During recorded calls after his arrest, like while he was in jail, he was still referring to the property as his land. In his mind, like that, it belonged to him. So he was just a bitter fucking Betty and a
That's fucking
psychopath.
wild. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
William Hudson's trial began on November 1st of 2017, where he faced 3 counts of capital murder.
So it took almost 2 years to get to trial and the counts were dropped from 6 to 3.
Right. And so I don't know
Okay.
why it was only 3, but he only faced charges related to the murders of Carl and Hannah. I'm assuming because there was a witness to those and he was denying everything.
No one saw me. You can't prove anything.
Right.
Okay.
After deliberating for less than 30 minutes, I read somewhere 17 minutes, the jury found him guilty on all 3 counts.
Excellent. Well done, jury. Well
Yeah,
done.
Sharon's gout's acting up. We'll let her sit down for a few minutes and then we'll get back out there. They found him guilty on all 3 of those counts. He showed zero emotion as the verdict was read.
Mm.
During the sentencing hearing, multiple people testified about his violent behaviors, and he had a long history of assholery.
Okay.
Just a quick summary of this turd. William seemed to have a pretty typical childhood. He was a good athlete and was well liked by his classmates. He dropped out of high school when he was 17, which would have been after his junior year.
Okay.
And 17 was a big year for old Willie because he was also arrested that year after he threatened to kill his father and then himself. At that time, he was having
Oh.
violent outbursts where he would, punch walls. He was making a lot of threats and just incredibly angry about
Oh
everything.
boy. Okay.
Katrina Johnston, who was previously married to William and has a daughter with him,
Holy shit.
yeah, she ended up taking the stand and she testified that he drank alcohol in excess and had a violent temper. On multiple occasions, he threatened to kill her while pointing a loaded shotgun at her head. The couple
Holy
made
moly.
many attempts to try and make their marriage work, but his heavy drinking continued, along with his, anger and violent behaviors. Eventually, Katrina ended their marriage, and their daughter no longer had to have visitations with their father. So I didn't get a lot of details on that, but it sounded like she really had nothing to do with her father, William, after
And
that
it
point.
sounds like they got out of what could have been a pretty harrowing and unsafe familial situation.
Right. Employees at a convenience store testified about an incident when William followed a man into the store threatening him. And they ended up fighting. There was like this a scuffle. And during that incident, a gun fell out of William's pocket. Whoopsie. And so he ended up being arrested for assault. And again, I don't know what caused it. Like just something set him off. He ended up just like following this random dude in and fighting
Anger
with him inside the
issues.
store. Yeah.
Dang.
Now we're getting to his mother. So she testified that her son had gotten violent with her on multiple occasions and that when he was angry, he would damage things in her home, punching walls, just would get out of control over nothing. And as I'd mentioned, she'd been out of town the weekend of the murders, but before she left, she had noticed that William was acting really erratically and she felt afraid of him. And so she was like made an effort to get out of town as quickly as possible.
So she was out of town purely because she was trying to escape being around him.
Yeah, like I think she was going out of town anyway, but she was like, I am getting out of here early because he's
Got it.
just kind of freaking me out. And I think that she was scared of him and was trying to kind of separate herself more and more from him. And I wonder if he would have killed her too if she had still been
100%.
home. Like
That's what I was thinking.
I'm sure she's had that thought too.
Oh my
After she
God.
gave her testimony about her son, she apologized to the families of the victims for what he had done.
Oh my
Like I think
God.
she was just horrified
I
and
can't even imagine.
she may have felt a little sense of guilt that like maybe if she had stuck around and called authorities or something, like maybe this wouldn't have happened. Or I just makes me really really sad. I can't imagine being like so scared of your son.
Yeah, that you're like, I think he's capable of violence and harm. I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge.
He had gotten violent with her.
Yeah. And then you find out he took 6 souls the weekend you left. Like holy shit. Hopefully she was so thankful that she did not get hurt by her son. Cuz it's not she's not responsible for his behavior. He's a
Right.
fucking grown ass man.
Yeah. Friends of Williams described him as being very moody and that he would get angry just over nothing, and especially when he was drinking alcohol. And psychologists confirmed that he is a raging psychopath. William Hudson was even an asshole while he was in custody in the Anderson County Jail. He was making threats against the staff at the jail, and he had to be segregated from the rest of the inmates. So, just in a nutshell, he was a lifelong dickhead to everyone. His attorneys argued during the trial that he wasn't in his right mind when he was committing these murders. They said that he had brain damage from being in car accidents, from having multiple seizures, and from extensive alcohol abuse. And the prosecution was like, nah, he isn't mentally ill. He's just a giant asshole.
Yeah.
And whenever I read those things, the car accidents, the seizures, like all of those could be related to excessive alcohol
100%.
abuse.
And also, he started this douchebag lifestyle when he was going through puberty in his teens and never stopped. So you can't blame that on alcohol.
Yeah, he just had like an endless path of being a dickhead. So, following all of the damning testimonies and the overwhelming evidence against him, William Hudson was sentenced to death by lethal injection. And so he is currently chilling just on death row in Texas, waiting to be executed.
I'm assuming the appeals process has got to make its way through the courts at an exhaustingly slow pace. And I think there's
Yeah,
two automatic appeals. And if they both get denied, then it's just a matter of going through the mumbo jumbo of getting an execution date. So he was sentenced, did you say in 2017?
yes. Yeah, and I'm
So,
not sure where it is in the process of appeals and things, but
I mean, it's only been 9 years. So maybe one's been exhausted and we're going through the other. It takes forever.
yeah, it's a very, very lengthy process. And in his time there, I'm sure he's just been an absolute fucking delight to be around. So I'm sure the
Nice.
staff is
Sounds like a.
probably like, can we move him to the front of the line?
I really hope Cindy is doing okay.
I know.
She got her husband, her daughter, her grandson, her soon to be son in law, her soon to be step grandchildren taken from her all in a matter of an hour.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Against the backdrop of a beautiful weekend in beautiful woods to have a lot of fun camping and like experience nature. And I really hope she's doing well. I think the theory of what William did with that, I think he was planning to murder whoever owned the property. He didn't know. He didn't know who, but I think he was planning, and that's why he put the padlock on, because eventually they were going to come and they were going to want to get access to the land that they
Hmm.
own and they were going to figure it out. And he would hear noises and he would come over and introduce him, like, I just heard, like, whatever. And it all just worked out fine for him.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point of that padlock was to alert him as to when there were visitors so that he could take care of his problem. That's what I think was going on. I think that shit was free pre fucking meditated. Maybe not the
Yeah.
victims weren't because he didn't know who that was going to be, but I think he was planning on taking life
Yeah. Or
regardless.
just in some stupid thought that that padlock was just going to deter people. Like they were going to show up to camp and be like, oh, well, dang, we can't get in. Back to the city. I don't know,
It
but
makes sense that he wouldn't have logical thinking because he
right.
wasn't thinking logically. This was all in his limbic system. Is it limbic system where your emotions are? I can't remember, but he was in
I
his
keep them in my
emotional
butt.
center.
It's so sad because he had no reason to be mad at anyone, but it was directed at Tom. But then he would have killed 7 people
He would
if he
have,
had seen
absolutely.
Cindy.
Maybe 8 if his mom was still in town,
Right. Yeah. And so it's just like,
all over some wooded acreage.
yeah, over fucking nothing. Ugh. And on that horrifying note, Um, we just wanted to say thank you guys for listening. We appreciate everyone who listens and supports Crime Will Tell and shares it with other people. Please keep doing that. It helps us out greatly.
This podcast is like, this is where we want to be. Like, we both have
Yeah.
full-time careers and everything, and it's like we don't want to do that, we want to do this. And so we're trying to figure out a way to have a good balance. And so thank you for understanding, but we also know, as much as we hate doing this, we do have to plug. If we want to continue doing our podcasts, we do have to grow. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to be sellouts. So we want to grow organically. So when we were putting the plug in of like, hey, don't forget to share, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, that's the only way we're going to be able to keep doing this without
Yeah.
selling out, is just by humbly asking for support and to grow that support. And that's what we try to do. We hate doing it, but we have to.
Yeah. We know it's annoying, but
It's so
truly it
annoying.
does help. So if you
Yeah.
can subscribe to our YouTube channel and just continue sharing the podcast with other true crime fans.
Hmm.
And, rate, review, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all that fun shit. So thank you guys. We appreciate you. And with that, goodbye, Carrie.
Goodbye, Jamie. And thank you for ruining camping for everyone.
Sorry. I'm not upset, but I am.
I don't like it either.
Calm your tits, bro.
But for a man, it's pretty luscious.
Goddamn, I love coffee. I really do.
Like, why do I need to know that?
Yeah, obviously we were mistaken. You grumpy old bitch.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
Don't do it. Stop doing it.
Everything's gonna be fine.
No.
So just keep your mouth shut, Jamie.